If there's any sport that really has encapsulated being a rumor mill, it's NASCAR. NASCAR's had so many crazy rumors that have popped up that have never happened that you could probably write an entire fiction novel of it. Or, like in my case, make a bit of a series out of it because, let's be real, these rumors sometimes are even more entertaining than what happens on the track. So today, I am going to do what I did about a month or so ago and go over 7 NASCAR rumors that did not happen. So let's just jump right into it. Starting out is that the number 8 car was sponsored by Bank of America. Many people, when they think of Bank of America and NASCAR, think of the second Charlotte race of the season in the 2000s, named the Bank of America 500. But did you know that in 2009, the 8 car was actually set to go full-time, again like it did for previous years, with Bank of America as sponsor and Eric Almirola as the rookie driver? Yep, they actually were. And it was the point that they actually had designs that were released from DEI, or at this point, Chip Ganassi Racing and DEI together, and then NASCAR kind of swooped in and signed them as the official bank of NASCAR. Many, according to this rumor, say that they signed them for about the same asking price that DEI and the 8 team did. But no one could ever prove it right. They became the official bank of NASCAR, and then, with that, the 8 team lost all sponsorship. Because of this, Almirola and the team started with what little funds they had going into the season, and the 8 team ended up folding after about 7 races due to lack of sponsorship. Who knows how different Almirola's career could have turned out, and DEI in general, had this sponsorship actually landed and maybe been in place for both 2009 and maybe even 2010. The second one is that the Bears would take the Chicagoland Speedway. The Chicagoland Speedway has been closed from NASCAR competition since 2019, and since then a lot in the world has changed, including where the Chicago Bears want to be at. They're wanting to move out of Chicago at the moment and look for other places in the suburbs or near Chicago in Illinois, and one of the options that popped up was the city of Joliet. Joliet had actually said that they would love to have the Chicago Bears in town, and that if NASCAR never wanted to come back or didn't want to have ownership of the Speedway, that they were willing to give the Speedway and repurpose it so that the Bears could play there. There was plenty of land, so it'd be much more open than the surrounding areas of Chicago that Soldier Field was at. But NASCAR since has kept ownership and actually good care of Chicagoland Speedway in the 3 years since it's basically closed for Cup competition. And because of this, the Bears have been looking at their primary target even harder in Arlington Heights, Illinois, as that's currently where they want to move. Meanwhile, the Chicagoland Speedway is being kept in race condition and maybe one day could have NASCAR back at it. Now, another crazy one was a story that had nothing to do really with the track itself, but more with NASCAR itself, as it was rumored for a while that Disney was actually going to buy NASCAR. Listen, in 2018, after the Brian France deal, NASCAR was definitely in limbo. It was really unclear what the future would hold. Would Brian France come back? Would the new regime that was put in place last long term? Would new people buy the entire company? And seeing how NASCAR had already been rumored to be on the market to be for sale, this only strengthened these concerns. And one of the big people, or entities I should say, that was really rumored to be buying NASCAR was Disney. And at the time, Disney was buying stuff up like it was candy. I mean, look, earlier in the decade, they bought Star Wars for billions of dollars. So NASCAR probably would have been chump change to them. But since then, NASCAR's leadership has solidified in place, and they've actually really stabilized the popularity of the sport overall. So it's probably not going to happen when it comes to the mouse buying NASCAR. But hey, every winning championship would have been a Mickey win in that instance. Another one that really made no sense was that Hendrick Motorsports was holding Dale Earnhardt Jr. back. When Jr. went over to Hendrick in 2008, he had a solid season before it fell off, and then he absolutely sucked in 2009 and 2010. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson won 5 straight championships, Mark Martin had a career resurgence, and Jeff Gordon was still really solid and was a top 3 guy in points in 2009. Meanwhile, Jr. just didn't gel with Tony Reed Jr. and especially Lance McGrew in 2010. But due to the horrible performance and his teammates doing well as Junior doing better at an inferior DEI, fans thought that Hendrick had to be holding Junior back. There was no way he was doing as bad as he was doing without something being sabotaged. And this went on for years. There was a contingent of the fans that would really say that Junior wasn't as good as people thought, but the large amount of fans were really just saying that HMS was taking their biggest moneymaker back a peg because of, I don't know, jealousy or something. Anyway, Hendrick Motorsports actually made crew swaps and driver swaps and had Junior over in the 88 team working with Jimmy Johnson and the 48 team with Steve Letarte as his crew chief. This resurrected Dale's career, and one could argue in 2015, he and that 88 team were the best team at Hendrick Motorsports. But hey, a lot of fans had to cope with how bad their driver was doing. Now, another one is that NASCAR, according to rumors, uses concussions and COVID as a way to cover up failed drug tests. And this really got fired up in 2016 when Dale Jr. missed a majority of the season. Sure, Junior had a history of concussions dating back to the 90s, but because he missed half the season and he looked fine, many people thought that he had to have failed a drug test. There was no way that it could be anything else. Unless you realize that when you have a concussion, you can visibly look just fine and mentally and physically in your brain be hurting like hell. People also said this for Chris Buescher in 2022 when he tested positive for COVID. They said that it was because he got injured in the next gen car in his flip at Charlotte. And the same thing has been said for Kurt Busch. They said, oh, it's a concussion. No, it's actually because he failed a drug test. There has never ever been solid evidence showing this, but for some reason fans always have this as their go-to whenever someone is sat out. The next one is a weird one. It's Roush To Dodge. Kinda. So when Dodge entered NASCAR in 2001, it was a huge deal. A new manufacturer, a returning manufacturer at that, and one that many NASCAR fans and Americans love. One rumor was that Roush's 5-car Cup team would have a Dodge on its fleet. 4 Fords and 1 Dodge. The Dodge team being the number 99 of Jeff Burton. And this stemmed from different rumors of Dodge approaching Roush, which they did, as well as Roush maybe doing testing for other programs that had to do with the Ram program, which they ended up doing in the end. But it never happened, and I'm pretty sure against the rules in NASCAR for your teams to have one team in the race running one manufacturer and 4 running the other, just because of conflict of interest with different manufacturers, teams, whatever. Since this, in 2012, Dodge did approach Roush, but they did say no as well, and Dodge ended up leaving the sport. Now, the last one is a rumor that did somewhat come true, and that was that Kasey Kahne would be part of George W. Bush's administration. And it did happen a little bit. So the original plan was from 2005 to the remainder of his presidency ending in 2009, Kasey Kahne would be one of the members on George W. Bush's administration, even if it was a small role. Instead of doing it in the entire time, Kahne was actually a celebrity helper for a cause that George W. Bush had called Call to Service. And in 2006, Kahne hosted a Ask the White House for the president's Call to Service campaign. This was basically a glorified Q&A session that saw Kahne giving reasons for why he agreed or why people should go with George W. Bush's initiative in this respect. Still, it's really crazy to think that he could have been a bigger part of the federal government, and it's pretty odd when you see just how big NASCAR was, how many odd places these drivers were and rumored were to be. Now with that, I'm going to pass this one on to you. What do you think are some of the weirdest rumors, both from this video as well as in general, that have been seen in NASCAR? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And to all my channel members, thank you so much for all of your support. And until next time, have a good one.